The following program contains shocking portrayals of action. If you suffer from cowardice, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your video game supplier.
Speaking the truth when others hold their tongues. Wrestling for justice with left-wingers and crocodiles. Resisting the temptation to keep the peace at any price. The only talk show host who writes his own theme music, Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Well, there is a boycott in progress with the AR-15. And guess who is doing the boycotting? The manufacturers. Yeah, they're saying we will not sell this gun to any first responders or any law enforcement agencies in the state of New York. Are you getting this? Who ever heard of boycotting customers? I'll tell you more about it after a profound word of wisdom from the dude with the lip, Rusty Cowper.
These leaders of them 501c3 groups, heck, they're strutting around like they've been riding some Breamable for 8 seconds. Whoa. Heck, they ain't even mutton busting. You can Google that too. Mutton busting.
Welcome to the show, friend. It's refreshing, even exciting, to see companies with the courage of their convictions in the debate regarding our Second Amendment right to self-defense and the right to keep and bear arms, guns, firearms. I want to bring you up to speed on two battleground states, New York State and Colorado. First, New York State. The New York State legislature just passed, and the governor signed, a law that will go into effect in March that outlaws semi-automatic rifles. The AR-15 is, of course, a very popular gun, and it is one that is used both by private citizens as well as law enforcement agencies. Well, 3 manufacturers of the AR-15 platform, we're talking about EFI, Olympic Arms, and LaRue Tactical. The 3 of them have all made public statements, issued press releases, that when the law in New York State goes into effect, they will no longer sell the AR-15 to anyone in New York State, including first responders, sheriffs, the state police, local law enforcement agents. EFI, one of the companies, had this to say, and I quote, "If a product that we manufacture is not legal for a private citizen to own in a jurisdiction, we will not sell that product to a law enforcement agency in that jurisdiction." Olympic Arms said, "No New York State government entity or employee of such an entity will be served as customers." All of the manufacturers go on to say in so many words, look, if you're going to deny people, law-abiding people, the right to own certain firearms, we're not going to do business with you. EFI has about 10% of their income from sales to government agencies. So they're saying, New York State, we're willing to take the financial hit rather than betray our convictions. You have to love that. You have to love it when somebody puts principle ahead of money. Think of how different this country would be right now if so-called pro-life groups, religious right groups, groups that say that they want to defend marriage and defend babies, but who are in effect not doing so because for the sake of money, they've cut a deal with the collaborators of evil and said, okay, we won't go after politicians by name. We won't really try and pass these laws, but we'll just keep raising money tricking our donors. Imagine how different the world would be if people said, John Boehner, pro-life groups, National Right to Life, various pro-life groups said, John Boehner, we're coming after you. We're not going to invite you to speak at the March for Life. We're going to target you at the March for Life because you betrayed us when you funded Planned Parenthood. But alas, it is not to be, at least not now. So anyway, God bless these three manufacturers who have said, we're not doing business with you. And EFI, by the way, already refuses to sell guns to any law enforcement agency in Chicago, in Washington, D.C., and in the entire state of California because of the draconian laws that are there. All right, let's switch to Colorado. In Colorado, a company called Magpul makes magazines, the long clips that come out of a rifle. And the dim-witted Democrats who control one of the houses in Colorado have passed a bill that the governor says he'll sign. It has to get through the other house, the other chamber. But this bill would say that a law-abiding citizen in the state of Colorado cannot own a magazine that holds any more than 15 rounds of ammunition, 15 bullets. The company, Magpul, employs 200 people directly. They have about 400 subcontractors, and they bring about $85 million a year into the Colorado economy. The owner of the company, rather the chief executive officer of the company, told the Colorado legislature with the clearest terms possible, if you make it a crime to own these magazines in this state, we're leaving. We are moving our company. You can say goodbye to 600 jobs. You can say farewell to the $85 million that comes into this state because of our company. Because we're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're betraying what we believe. We're not going to put ourselves in a position where some of our customers around the country would boycott us because they would say, how can you have a manufacturing company in the state of Colorado when the people of Colorado can't even buy the things that you're making? So they said, pass the bill, toodaloo. That is courage. It's consistent. It says, we actually believe what we're doing. God bless them. We will keep you posted on that. And speaking of courage of convictions, when we come back, I want to talk to you about some awesome stuff that is happening in North Dakota. And I want to invite you to consider your role in the 2014 election cycle. Don't go away.
Many have accused Randall Terry and Teddy Roosevelt of riding people too hard. But Randall Terry never forced his wife to walk to the top of a mountain.
Friend, you need to get this book, We Won't Get Fooled Again. Listen to this. I came to the conclusion that most folks were left over from the Reagan era who were no longer warriors, but are now either too old or unhealthy and had compromised and become comfortable with the Republican establishment. They turned these organizations pretty much into direct mail fundraising fronts and were making tons of money and living the good life in beautiful mansions. The conservative movement had transformed itself from a very dynamic, principled organization in the Reagan years to a bunch of compromising, useless, and ineffective money-making machines. I'm reading to you from the new blockbuster book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, that names names, shows organizations, shows how they say that they're Christian, but they betray Christ, they betray biblical principles in the public square, and we are funding them. Go to the website, call us on the phone, and order it today. I'll send it to you for free if you want. God bless you.
You know something about Randall Terry? He just lots more fire. Oh, yeah. Ow! Don't go away. There's plenty more to go.
Welcome back to the program. I want you to have in the back of your mind this thought, and it's not a pleasant one, but I want you to have it there. If you look at what happened when Biden tried to snowball us all and railroad us all with these executive orders that were going to come out, and everyone having to have a background check for new purchases, closing the loophole at gun shows for private sales, maybe outlawing certain guns or certain magazines. The response was immediate, it was swift, and I believe it was overwhelming. And among those overwhelming responses were a number of sheriffs who said, we're not going to enforce this law. Wyoming saying, if a federal agent comes and tries to enforce a law of this nature, we will arrest the agent. I think that the pushback was so severe that it is actually what caused Obama and his cronies to back down and have nothing of real substance come from that little heated moment. But I think that it has to be in our minds that it's possible. We don't want it, but it's possible that there could be some type of a limited civil war that revolved specifically around attempts to outlaw or to confiscate certain firearms. I don't want it to happen. I pray God it doesn't happen. But at least it has to be something on our mind, remembering that our country already has endured a civil war. Wouldn't be the first time here. God help us. God help our country. All right, let's go to North Dakota. I love conviction, I love courage, and the North Dakota State Legislature is about to put its finger in the eye of the U.S. Supreme Court and try and basically deal a death blow to Roe versus Wade in that state. The Senate has passed a bill that would put before the voters, all right, in a referendum, very simple language. I'm going to read it to you right now. The following proposed new section to Article 1 of the Constitution of North Dakota is agreed to and must be submitted to the qualified electors of North Dakota at the general election to be held in 2014 in accordance with Section 16 of Article 4 of the Constitution of North Dakota. Section 1, a new section to Article 1 of the Constitution of North Dakota is created and enacted as follows. The inalienable right to life of every human being at any stage of development must be recognized and protected. I'll read it again. The inalienable right to life of every human being at any stage of development must be recognized and protected. Clearly, everyone knows this is talking about the conception, the beginning of a human life. It must be recognized and protected. What that means is the law requires that North Dakota say, we recognize that this teeny human life is in fact a human being and therefore must be protected by law. This is a frontal assault on Roe versus Wade. This is the legislature of North Dakota launching an attack on the gates of hell. We have to rejoice with them. We have to pray for them. And we should also keep an eye out for the Benedict Arnolds in our midst. It'll be interesting to see what groups like National Right to Life do and say. It'll be interesting to see what the North Dakota Right to Life people do. Because in the past, they have subverted attempts of this nature to protect all human life. They've actually fought against them. So, what will they do this time?
Well, they say it's not the right time. It'll never stand up in court. You don't want to add to the body of law against Roe versus Wade.
Hey, I almost said moron. Hey, word. It's not for you to decide when innocent human beings should be protected who are being butchered. Okay? You're alive. The law already protects you. How dare you say that you represent the babies when in fact you are working against laws that would protect them. You are a Judas of the first degree if you do something like that. A Benedict Arnold, a traitor, and the greatest thing you could do for the pro-life movement is to get the heck out. Oh, that felt good to say. I'll be back in a minute. We're going to talk about what you might do in 2014. Don't go away.
When I was at the Turkish Museum, I saw holy relics of Muhammad, his beard, his sword. Oh!
Friend, you need to get this book. We Won't Get Fooled Again. Listen to this. I came to the conclusion that most folks were left over from the Reagan era who were no longer warriors, but are now either too old or unhealthy, and had compromised and become comfortable with the Republican establishment. They turned these organizations pretty much into direct mail fundraising fronts and were making tons of money and living the good life in beautiful mansions. The conservative movement had transformed itself from a very dynamic, principled organization in the Reagan years to a bunch of compromising, useless, and ineffective money-making machines. I'm reading to you from the new blockbuster book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, that names names, shows organizations, shows how they say that they're Christian, but they betray Christ, they betray biblical principles in the public square, and we are funding them. Go to the website, call us on the phone, and order it today. I'll send it to you for free if you want. God bless you. There are two places where socialism will work. In heaven, where it is not needed, and in hell, where they already have it. Sir Winston Churchill. It's kind of fun to look, or at least to compare, what's going on in New York State, in Colorado, and in North Dakota. Because it's a vivid, living illustration of the difference between evil lawmakers and just and righteous lawmakers. In New York State, I used to live there. I got out as quick as I could. I confess I was born there. We have been, or the poor people of New York State have been governed by fools and evildoers for decades. That's why the state is in such a mess. I won't even bore you with how bad things are out there, but compare the legislatures of New York State, Colorado, and North Dakota. It's really simple. North Dakota has God-fearing people who are in office. And New York State has, well, they do have a few good people there. They've got a lot of godless or irreverent or blasphemous evildoers who are in office. So, how does this affect you? I want you to consider running for office. And if you decide that you are interested, even remotely interested, I want to invite you to contact us, all right? Email us at the email that you see on the screen and say, you know what? I'm interested. Now, in case you don't know this, in the last election cycle of 2012, our team helped at various levels 11 candidates, okay? We reached tens of millions of people in the United States for the first time with the truth about child killing. Our mission as Christians is to reflect God's ethics and his hierarchy, okay? In other words, some things are more important than others. Human life is more important than a pack of gum, all right? But theft is still important. Murder is the worst crime that can be committed, but theft is still a crime and it still has to be addressed. Hence, we are working right now for the 2014 election cycle to recruit, to train, and then to mobilize a fresh field of candidates. Maybe you. We have quite a body of training material that we can get into your hands to help you should you decide that you would like to run. And please understand this. This isn't a business for us. We're not in this for the money. We're in it to retrieve the republic from the jaws of hell. And in order to do that, we need good men and women in office like we have in North Dakota. So if you're interested, email us. Let's start the discussion. We've got a little bit of time before 2014, and maybe you could be somebody who kicks butt and takes names. I'll be right back. Don't go. Because he cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble and will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Friend, you need to get this book. We Won't Get Fooled Again. Listen to this. I came to the conclusion that most folks were left over from the Reagan era who were no longer warriors, but are now either too old or unhealthy and had compromised and become comfortable with the Republican establishment. They turned these organizations pretty much into direct mail fundraising fronts and were making tons of money and living the good life in beautiful mansions. The conservative movement had transformed itself from a very dynamic, principled organization in the Reagan years to a bunch of compromising, useless, and ineffective money-making machines. I'm reading to you from the new blockbuster book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, that names names, shows organizations, shows how they say that they're Christian, but they betray Christ, they betray biblical principles in the public square, and we are funding them. Go to the website, call us on the phone, and order it today. I'll send it to you for free if you want. God bless you. Welcome back. We are opening an office in Washington, D.C. Now, we used to be based there, as some of you know. We used to do our television show from there. We decided we would come 2.5 hours outside of the city and then reach back into the city, kind of following the paradigm of some of the Old Testament prophets who would be in the wilderness, go and preach in Jerusalem, etc. But we've decided that we need to have our office open again, a satellite office. And so Andrew Beecham, whose face you see here, he is going to head up our DC work, leading protests, holding press conferences, and interviewing congressmen, filming various activist events. He'll be our DC correspondent. Listen to what I'm going to tell you, okay? Real estate, office space for rent in Washington, D.C. averages about $50 a square foot, okay? $50 a square foot. Now, to put that in perspective, Andrew and his wife are renting an apartment that has 2 bedrooms, and they will use one of the bedrooms as an office place. The rent that we are paying is under $1,500 a month, okay? With the money that we're spending for their home and their office space, if we had
an office where we could say we've got an office in Washington, D.C.
Andrew could have about 27 square feet. 27 square feet. Andrew, that's just a little bit bigger than the size of my desk. Not a lot of space. Hear me. The goal of having an office in Washington, D.C. is to not be there. Don't be in the office pushing paper around and raising money to pay for the office. The goal is to be on the ground raising hell. And I say that with a Z. Look how it's spelled. It means to flatten it, to make war against the gates of hell. All right? We know what it's like to capture headlines, to drive the debate, to interrupt hearings regarding a Supreme Court nominee. We know what it means to drive an issue forward and to make the right people feel uncomfortable. And Andrew is going to D.C. to do that, not to suck up money for some big office space that's of virtually no good. If you're excited that we're going, go to the website that you see on the screen or send a check to just help us with the upfront expenses, raising money to get him a car, paying for rent, utilities, all these things. And know this, that if you do decide to help us, it will have more impact, dollar for dollar, than any group in Washington, D.C. And if you don't believe me, go and watch the MTV episode that you see there, where Andrew is the focal point. He reached millions of people on MTV, while these other groups were raising money to pay for big, empty offices that have virtually no impact. God bless Andrew. God bless you.